life is not a rap battle. You don't have to respond to every single point right away. You're not Eminem. You're not Nicki Minaj. You are not Drake and Kendrick Lamar. And I say that because I also need to remind myself.
Well, because if anybody could win a work rap battle, it would be you. Hey, Nicole, what do you get when a former corporate CEO and a do-gooding executive walk into a recording studio?
Well, Erin, nothing, because the two of us are usually on my couch or Zoom because wine.
You get a podcast created for Gen X women who are bought into the corporate world but fed up with the BS.
I know. It's how to thrive the 9 to 5 or 6 or 7.
It's career therapy. It's comedy. It's definitely full-on authenticity. Basically, we give you tangible strategies to rise in your career without compromising everything else.
Because work doesn't have to suck. You ready?
You ready? Erin? You ready to record?
No, I'm ignoring you.
I am impossible to ignore. And why are you ignoring me?
Because that's what we're talking about, I think. How to ignore people like the best of them.
But yes, and I know I've been like talking your ear off, catching up on stuff for like a few minutes, and I know I'm hard to ignore. But this topic came up because so the last time we recorded, we talked about sort of like 5 strategies for like sort of like surviving shit lately, thriving, and I thought, boy, each of these are like one in their own, and so I just came back from a trip. And I am thrown right into the mix of things. And this is so Erin, like, because work doesn't have to suck situation. My boss is getting deployed. And that means like, I'm
number 2 becomes number 1.
Yes. And so like, I put it this way, I was like, I'm like a Somali pirate, right? Like I've taken the wheel, but does anybody really ship, I'm the new pirate ship captain. I'm like,
whether they like it or not.
Whether they like it or not. And I was like, first line of business is like here's the way like one could put it is like, I need to understand my priorities. Like the way it really plays out in my head is like, I got to figure out what shit I can let slide. Yep.
The alternative to priorities is the reality. What can I ignore? What can I, yeah.
Right. And so like, I'll say this. I have one of my many personal mantras, which I'm going to share right now because it's a good one, is I say this to people all the time is life is not a rap battle. You don't have to respond to every single point right away. You're not Eminem. You're not Nicki Minaj. You are not Drake and Kendrick Lamar. And I say that because I also need to remind myself.
Well, because if anybody could win a work rap battle, it would be you. And so, but sometimes you got to not do it.
Yeah. Let's not forget that I consistently send odes to my staff with instruction in rhyming form. So, maybe I am winning the rap battle, but I also
That's the literal. That's the literal. Let's talk about the metaphorical.
Okay. But the advice I give is always based in stuff that I have fucked up in my past, right? Mm-hmm. I've struggled with this, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I am the person.
Yeah. Disclaimer. Like we both do it. The shit we're teaching you is mostly stuff that we fucked up on before and have learned at least something.
Yeah. Hard lessons, right? Like, so what are we talking about today? Like how to manage expectations, like it's okay to ignore people or problems or say like, it's a problem, but not mine. Like, what do you do with that, email that has 47 attachments and 72 points and needs a response and 7 people are sending it to you and whatever? Like, when do you get to decide? And like, how do you decide? And how do you manage it? Because I'm doing this in real time, right? Boss gets deployed. I'm back from a trip. Suddenly I have 400 emails that I haven't responded to. And we're right in the middle of something called a rate case, which is a really big deal in my industry, right? This is like a huge court proceeding that sets rates with utilities. Big. It's totally as boring and miserable as it sounds. Also extremely consequential with a lot of people involved, including my whole staff. So this is like a huge time where it's like
Super Bowl. It's like Super Bowl, but without the like Doritos and party hats.
It is. It's actually like I have a new deputy in training and I keep calling them my quarterback. I'm like, look at me with the fucking sports.
Oh, sports ball. We're slowly infiltrating you.
Well, oh, wait. Can I quick shout out to sports, which is my friend's son that got the Cowboys.
Yes. Okay. Let's quick interlude.
Yeah, quick interlude. So New Haven, Connecticut is the best place on earth. Just saying, we produce lots of great things like pizza and hamburgers, and also clearly first round draft picks for the NFL. So the woman that I went to high school with, her son, all her children are exceptional athletes, and her son Tyler, Booker, was drafted number 11 or 12.
11.
Boys.
Oh, 11. 11.
Which I assume is a really big deal.
And more important to that, because I know I had to text you and tell you, because even if you were in the U.S. at the time you wouldn't have been watching it, but now I didn't watch the entire draft, but in the time I watched it, he was by far the most charismatic, exciting, naturally,
well-spoken,
humble, just like his energy as he came down the tunnel, and because I didn't know it was him at first. I was like, oh my God, he was dapper and he's big and lovable. And then I was like, oh, he's 6'5". He's 6'5", 350 pounds.
He's a big boy. He is a force. He's a landmark. I mean,
yes.
And this is awesome.
And he's a millionaire now.
Oh, right. And he runs a sports camp for kids in New Haven. And let me be clear, like, football started in New Haven. Like, Walter Camp is in New Haven. Like, Yale football is a thing. So he comes from the place where football was born. And so it's just such a moment of pride. Also, they're a great family. And let me be clear, the people that I grew up with came through some hard shit. This was not a place to grow up in the 90s. So the fact that this is the next generation is beautiful. And I'm really proud of him. And he is charismatic and wonderful and awesome. And I'm glad I did not ignore that little interlude in my text messages and social media. And I was like, this is so cool. But thank you for allowing me to give that shout out, because
he's going to Dallas. Going to Dallas, just in case people are curious about Cowboys.
Yeah, and suddenly I feel like I might watch some sports ball. Just get ready. There could be some sports ball happening. I was like, what does Texas?
Well, it all starts by the pool in August. So it'll be on the pool TV at the Snack Shack. So
I will be there with the snow cone maker. Thank you, and I appreciate that invite. And now back to the topic at hand
that we're not ignoring.
Which also is a quote from a rap song, from a Snoop Dogg song. So I can't really in rap mode today for some reason. But yeah, the whole point is, like, we are not in a situation all the time where we can or should be responding to things. So, well,
can I give you an example? Can I give you an example? So I know this is your topic to lead, but it's so funny because
it's us.
Well, and the 22 minutes that we prepared it before the show, but I actually had a micro, I have an example. Maybe I can give it to you.
Please.
So I had it's small, but and it may kind of make me look a little bit bitchy, so whatever. But hey, that's what happens when you
can be a mean
girl. So I had somebody send me a DM on LinkedIn. So-and-so recommended I reach out to you. Nice guy that I know from my former job. He follows me on LinkedIn. He engages with me, the person that said he referred. But I've never heard of this guy, right? And he reached out and was like, because I think this is such a lesson. I am looking for my next role, blah, 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 blah. So-and-so said to reach out. Do you have any time to meet with me? And here's why I ignored it. And this is a lesson for people too on the other side of the equation. If you are reaching out to somebody that, first of all, may be kind of in high demand for this stuff, it doesn't take you 2 seconds to know that this is kind of a place where, people come to me often. And you don't take the time at all to read a post, right? We've talked about this, understand my currency, make a comment. Oh my gosh, I can't believe, you left the corporate room and you read 2 books. Literally it's one sentence. And you can find all this information on my homepage of LinkedIn, right? This is not,
give me a hook.
And and this is going to sound terrible. I'm not against white men, but like also if you're not, like if this was somebody that was maybe on the fringes, I would have responded, but this is a white male. And again, nothing against them, but I just, when I have only a little bit of capacity, I want to help those that right now are getting their, ass beat back down. So yeah, I felt guilty because that's not like me. I don't like to just ignore people and not respond. I have that reaction, that whatever that chemical thing that you can talk about it. But sometimes you got to draw a line. And I think if nothing else, maybe it'll teach a lesson, although they'll probably never know maybe why I didn't. But I you know what I mean? So
But I do. And and this kind of like leads me to the second point, which is like, I called it the Pavlovian ping, right? The Pavlovian dog response. The bell rings and the dog starts drooling, right? The famous Russian experiment. And like, I feel very Pavlovian.
Wait, hold on. The famous Russian experiment, which I had to Google because I never heard of it. But anyway.
Sorry, Pavlov's dogs. This is
Pavlov's dog, but I had never heard the Pavlovian ping. Yes, which okay.
Which is the modern technology corollary, right?
Got it. I feel smarter already.
I mean, hey, let's just bring up some science, right? Some real science. So a couple responses to that too, which sort of get us to that place, which is like someone responds and you feel the need to respond, right? A couple of things. One, not all platforms are equal, right? Like I am often very responsive to email, but if someone is like Instagram messaging me, or LinkedIn messaging me, that might not be my best place to respond. Like one thing that I think also, because I also get a lot of requests and demands, and one thing that the second part of that is the way the message is scoped. Two things that make me ignore messages sometimes by accident is because it requires a level of me to pull out what they want. So emails or text messages, even people I know that just say things like, hey, or what's up? Like I cannot engage with that because often I'm not necessarily sure that I have time for that conversation. So that's something, if that introduction, that first line is something that I feel like I can really engage with, like we mentioned this before, open-ended things don't do well. The other thing is asking a simple question like, hey, is this a good way to contact you? Or I would love to talk more. I have some, I would love to talk more. Is this a good platform? And could we potentially engage on a Thursday or a Friday afternoon? Like, give some scope. Like, I know people feel like, oh, I need to be very deferential. I need to be, the most open. I can't ask for anything. But the truth is like, boundaries. This is where the boundaries come in, like helping create, letting me know, or providing some boundaries, or guidance, some guide rails to the kind of conversation that you want to have or response you expect, rather than trying to draw me in, like just generally speaking, like unless you're paying you're paying me, like I have to make a hard decision. So what happens?
I think, let me just weigh on that for a second. I think that I have a friend like that texts me very open-ended, like, I miss you. I want to get together. And I think it comes from a place of love and care that they don't want to,
they don't want to overstep.
They don't want to overstep, but it actually has the opposite effect because it's always on me to say, exactly. Sometimes I'll say, do you have any good times and days? Or usually I'm the one that ends up succumbing and being like, how about next Friday, coffee? But you're absolutely right. I think people do this in the work context too. Like, do you have time to meet? Where to serve me, you would actually say, if you do, here are 3 times next week that work for me. And now all I have to do is pick one of those. And it's,
don't be afraid to be specific.
Yeah.
Number 1, be specific. Like, give me something you can work with, like a real question, some boundaries, some guardrails, some expectation. That's it, right?
Otherwise, you go on the ignore list. Possibly.
Or otherwise, you're going to go on the ignore list. Exactly. Like, think about group chat, how freaking hard they are. I hate group chats because you don't know what you're responding to, who you're responding to, how you're responding. Like,
and if you're out of pocket for like 2 hours and you come back to like 23, you're like, I have to do a full audit. I don't have time to do a full audit of what happened over the last 2 hours. Yeah.
I think if you don't want to be ignored, like, create some guardrails, right? So that's also how like the Pavlovian ping, like I used to get so stressed out every time like something banged, email, whatever. Now I'm in this mantra of like slow things down. Like if it's really important, someone's going to call me.
Yeah.
If it's not, I probably have some time to respond. When I don't take the time to really consider whether or not I should respond or how I should respond, it always comes back to bite me in the ass. 100% of the time. When I am like this and I start like
go right away. Yep.
oh, it's bad. Like I don't care.
Have you ever tried? I know
love
people
or hate. Yeah, whatever.
Have you ever tried? I mean, obviously, phone you mute from time to time, like mine's muted because we're recording or whatever. But have you ever tried like turning off? And you're more into the workplace Slack and all that. Like, have you ever tried just turning off some notifications to see if you can actually reduce that ping?
Yes.
Versus
Again,
also conditioning yourself because probably
It is.
both are important. I'm just curious. Did you?
Because I get stressed about the not knowing. So for me, you mentioned I have to figure out what platforms do I like. I direct people to those platforms. Platforms I don't like, I direct them otherwise. Like I have stopped being available everywhere all the time. Like this is not that that Oscar-winning movie. Like everything all at once everywhere. Like I can't do it, and I'm not afraid to say like actually this I'm not attending to like the Slack chat, but instead I'm here. Right? Because too much is too much. Like sometimes, again, let's revert back to the list. Less is more. Okay.
I know you're going through things. I'm curious, like part of I think a lot of people, we always see no as a complete sentence and everybody's like, hell yes. But then when you're in it, right, you're in this ignore thing, there's that guilt, right? Because every time you're saying a no, there's probably, or an ignore, there's somebody on the other end that's getting the short end of the stick. And like a party that you say you're not going to, they may be disappointed. An email you don't respond to, they might not get their deadline. Like,
yep.
I think everybody says hell yes, but how do we manage doing it and not being an asshole, or at least feeling like an asshole?
Yeah. And ignoring doesn't mean not necessarily never responding. Sometimes it's just the delay, right? Sometimes I do try to be responsive, but oftentimes those responses can be very short and pointed. And I don't apologize. I say things like, I did not have time to get to this, but I'm glad I'm responding now.
Yeah, I love that, not apologizing. I just had a guy who didn't write me back for a couple of days. It wasn't an urgent, and he apologized, and he said he was spending time with his parents. And then then I felt like an a-hole. I'm like, I didn't need you to respond. That's totally fine. I'm glad you
No, I mean,
that time and you didn't respond.
People respond to boundaries. I do not get this right all the time. I do often find text messages, for example, text is hard. I like text, but I find that like sometimes I'm in a conversation and then I get pulled into something else and I don't respond. I forget about it. And then there's this long list of like expectations and plans sort of being made, and then they just in the dirt. I honestly do try to, prioritize those conversations, make sure I know, keep a sort of a watch on it. And I know who like my key people are, and I do try to engage, but I give myself some grace on the timing. Now, there's other things that just are never going to get a response. I have to live with that, and I have to assess whether or not that is going to have some negative consequences. What I find sometimes is that like and this is like a point like that's worth making, is that silence is a superpower. Right? It's an absolute superpower. And it is very strategic. I always say this to people. I was like, I'm a Sicilian. Don't be worried when I respond. Be worried when I don't. When I say nothing, like now we have a problem. Like, and I mean professionally and personally. I was like, I have a lot to say. Trust me, you will hear it. If I'm saying nothing, like that's when you should be scared. I'm probably plotting your demise. But I think that that silence, inaction is an action. Silence is a signal, and I think it can be very, very powerful. And people who don't get a response they're gonna do two things. They're gonna be self-effacing and say like, why didn't this get a response? I need something from this person. Why didn't I get a response? How else can I change this engagement, or what's going on with them? Or they're gonna simply be mad and blame you. And in the second case is like, how valuable is that engagement to you? Like you're already ignoring it. You're already determined that it's it's probably going to take more from you than it gives. And now they're equally mad at you. Like, unless there's some like politically collected person or somebody who can really impact your life, I would be like, okay, I just have to live with it and like see what happens. I get ignored all the time myself, and I often go back and think like, why? Why did I get ignored?
What could I have done differently?
What could I have done differently? Like, is this person who would respond better to a call? Maybe I should try that. I'm like, okay. Like, again, email is not an assignment. This is another thing, because text message is not an assignment. Like, it is not. It's not. Just because you're sending a communication does not mean that it's like, oh, hot potato in your court now.
Yeah, I once heard somebody use the metaphor, you're not a vending machine. Like, text comes in, the quarter comes in, you do not have to put Cheetos back out.
No, don't. Totally, like, that's totally right. I mean, I think, a good example of this is like where I wrote recently, like what I call a manifesto about something, a huge, like a work manifesto, right? And I sent it out to everybody, and I got 0 response. And I was like, this is something they need to do their job. They asked for it. Like, it took a lot of work. What? I got not a thank you, not a noted, not a let's discuss. I got nothing. Not from equals, lowers, up, whatever. Thought maybe it just went circular fire. So I inquired. And the response was, this is more than my brain can comprehend. And I said, okay, let's set up a meeting about it. Let's set up a half-hour meeting, go through the key points. And it ended up being really productive and something else. But that, like, I thought I got ignored on a huge deliverable. And I was like, oh, weird. I could have just moved on with my jolly old life, but I was like, I should maybe think about this. And I didn't feel comfortable that folks would use what they needed to do with it, right? So sometimes I ignore, okay. And now I'm in that world where, like, I'm getting CC'd on everything. And I'm like, or I have staff who are in training, and they're taking on new roles and doing work. And I thought to myself, I'm watching this as training, but like, I'm not going to respond to everything. That on CC, I'm not going to respond to everything. I'm not going to give my 2 cents. What I'm doing is I'm putting it aside in a document. I'm like, I'm going to deliver this feedback in a different mechanism rather than one-on-one. And my person said, are you reading these? Are you reading these? Are you getting them? And I'm like, yes. And if there's something wrong, I will address it in the moment. But if it's good enough, I said, we'll talk about the feedback later. So also there's some expectation setting in that, but people do feel weird about getting ignored, or I should say not acknowledged, maybe.
Yeah.
Not acknowledged. They want you to acknowledge everything, and that can be hard.
Hey, it's Erin with a teeny request. If you have ever gotten any value from this podcast and you'd like us to stick around, plus you want it to continue to grow so we can kind of swindle bigger and more knowledgeable guests to join us, and to keep providing you with tangible and inspiring actions you can take to achieve the career and life you deserve, could you please just take 1 minute to leave us a rating and a review? Those reviews go a long way in attracting guests to the show, and candidly, they really make Nicole and I's day. And we see you. We really do. So when you have the time and inspiration, we'd love to see a rating and review from you. Thank you.
What else do you and our listeners, us, need to ignore at maybe a little bit more nebulous, or what else?
Yeah. Well, can I just, before that, I just want to say, like, because I work in a court, I just wanted to bring up that, like, I think a lot of people feel like they're on trial all the time. So like the whole rap battle thing is because I'm like, hey, you're not on trial. You're not in court. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to defend somebody's, like, comment about cheese prices. You don't have to clarify one more thing. You don't have to answer to the 1,000-word email from Joe Schmo. You don't necessarily have to do that because someone's asking you, right? It's not an assignment. So like, you're not on trial. Your life, you are not on trial. I think saying that might be liberating to a company.
I'm not on trial.
You are not on
trial.
You are not the defendant. Like, you are not, the court of life is not judging you all the time.
Well, and I like that
I
too,
hope
because
people
I'm not
do.
on trial doesn't just say you don't have to respond, because maybe it's you respond, but it's like the thing that somebody sent you isn't necessarily trying to cross-examine you, or, I got that all the time.
Yep.
As an executive, people would assume my question was like, question. I'm like, no, my question is really just a question. Like, do we do A or do we do B? And they would be like, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, no, A or B. Like, I just really don't. I'm that dumb. Like, I don't know if we do it with A or B. Right.
That's a really good point.
You're not on trial. I'm literally like, there is no passive aggressive. There is no trying to catch you.
That's a really good point. It's not a gotcha moment. I actually got an email today with someone who was asking for some clarification and specifically said, like, this is not a gotcha moment. Like, I really want to know, is it A or B?
Ooh, I like that they put that right up front.
They did. And I appreciated that because in some ways, sometimes these communications, particularly when it's an external stakeholder or they're questioning your judgment. And I work in a state agency, right? So you constantly feel like you're on trial. We are on trial. This is a court, right? But this person who is a person of note put it out there and just said, I am really trying to understand this situation. It is complicated and I'm trying to help you. Help me help you. And, they just laid it right out. And I thought, some people might feel defensive over that, but rather I felt engaged. I thought, oh, I understand this person's expectations. Like he understands that it could come off like a gotcha. It could come off as something like I don't feel comfortable engaging in. That's another euphemism for ignore, right? So I didn't acknowledge you. I'm ignoring you. I don't feel comfortable engaging. This isn't my job. Like whatever your reason is or your mantra or like, this isn't a rap battle, you don't have to. Like whatever it is, there's lots of ways we get into this. But again, sometimes people have a way of just like bringing you out of that shell. So not only is this a management moment of like, when do I ignore? It's also being that person on the other side being like, why am I getting ignored or how do I not get in? Yeah. So you're basically saying like, what's the tactical list, right? Like what
No, even the tactical list. I'm even thinking about like, what are some other things that like, I'm thinking of things like, a nastygram from the boss, like the comment that just like,
I have a list.
Ignore some of those. Oh, you have a list?
No, I mean, I have a list of like the things that I ignore. Like I go for the kinds of things like really like emails that I call it bluff, bottom line up front. Like emails that aren't bottom line up front, right? That don't say, or I should not say ignore them, but I might deprioritize them or I might push back. Like you want something from me in this email. It's not clear. It's difficult for me. I will if it's not clear, no bottom line up front, doesn't contain a clear question, out. If you are a customer who's looking for help, for example, if you do not state your case clearly and succinctly and ask specifically what you want, you are probably going to get ignored. And I think people get very frustrated in the world, just generally speaking, being like, I'm not getting what I want. And it's likely that they started with like a montage of their own personal experience and complaints and did not get to the point until the end, right? Yeah, put the point, just bottom line up front, period, right? Anything where people start off with like, let me be the devil's advocate. I'm like, that's a conversation you have in person. Like, don't do that. I don't want that in writing, right? Anything that's baiting, right? Where I feel like people are being passive aggressive, really passive aggressive. I do not respond to that anymore. I live in the world. I work with lawyers. These people are professionally trained to be passive. I just don't do that, right? And you can have debate and you can have written debate, but the way that you do it is important. You don't assume that people are stupid. Like you said, they're not stupid. They're not ignorant. Don't assume that they haven't thought through all the channels, right? This is why these are things that are better done like in person. And like I said, like texts that feel like, or communications that feel like a booty call. Hey, what's up? Are you awake? I don't think
you don't do work booty calls.
I don't do booty calls. I don't do work booty calls. Do light booty calls. Like, do not send me a message that is like, are you around? No. You know what I mean? And things that are just like not facts based. Like I oversee a customer service department, right? Like we ask that people do certain things and have specific complaints. We do not necessarily engage in things that are like conspiratorial or like analysis that could be thrown in my face. Like, I need to know exactly what it is that you want me to do, right? So if it's not clear and it feels like it could go down a road that might hurt me later, that just doesn't go on my radar. It doesn't go on my radar. And I share a lot personally. So when you think about what I'm not responding to, like, think about all the things I am responding to, right? And like, here's some stuff that I definitely don't ignore, right? I like my own instinct. Like, if I feel like something instinctually is important, even if it's not perfect, or like I feel like something needs to be contained, or maybe someone is saying something, but I really think there's something else, or I bring some knowledge to the table that someone else doesn't have, I will definitely engage in that. Like, I feel like I'm there for a reason. Like, that feeling of I'm here for a reason. I do engage. I think that's important, even if it's not directly to you. You feel like you have a real value add and that there's risk involved without that value add, I will. However, Erin, you know this. I used to think that my opinion and value add was so critical and the world would die without it. And I learned some hard lessons
On every topic.
On every topic. I learned some hard lessons about what I actually needed to be engaged in. So so don't let your ego get in the way here. So there's a real ego balance here, because this stuff does bite you in the ass. Like, you can have a boss that'd be like, look, like, I don't need your opinion, or like, this is the wrong format, right? So know yourself, know what you really add value to, be humble, be thoughtful, think about things in the risk framework. Like, what's the risk of me not engaging? What's the risk of me engaging?
Pick your battles. All that cliche stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't deadlines, like clear deadlines with meaning, like a legal deadline. I am very attentive to those, even if I have to pull them out. Right. And like things that feel like increasingly like a bomb's going to go off, like for whatever reason, it's not always the best, but like, if I feel like someone's out to get me, I'm like, ooh, I need to probably address that. I mean, because it does happen, right? Like, you get like a feeling and you're like, oh, some shit's about to go down. That's always better to be safe than sorry.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
The one I'll add that's a little more around like relationship building, maybe call it sales, call it business development, call it just relationship building, is I think the place where it is important maybe to more quickly respond and keep a cadence, I think, is when you're building a relationship. Whether that's in a DM or it's in an email. I'll give you an example. I'm always building relationships with new speaking bureaus to, work with for potential speaking events. And I always try to mirror their cadence. Like, I don't want to bombard them, but if I send an email to somebody and that I'm trying to build a relationship and they respond 10 minutes later, like, I cannot respond 24 hours later. Like, there is something about the rhythm of that new relationship and that interaction that actually is important and should be prioritized. And I remember hearing that like in a training, and I'd never really put sort of words around it, but like that makes sense. Like,
right.
And I always try to do, I don't overanalyze it, but I try to mirror that energy and that response timing. And if it's somebody that's like, you're starting to really click with, and maybe there's an opportunity, and like, to me, it's less about the responsiveness, more about the rhythm of the dance that you're starting to do with this new person.
Right. Right. I agree with that. Like, sometimes, these are shifting rules, right? And context matters. Right. Matters. Like, I currently am in a situation where like I'm jumping in as like the boss for a couple of weeks, and I'm trying to decide really quickly, what I'm doing. And also every day in my life, like, I'm the boss of my own life, so I can manage that. But sometimes, you're not in the power play, right? Or you are.
Or you can get power from that. I think the alternative to that is, if I think about, an executive, above me that is constantly always trying to like push on something. To your point, sometimes there's power in the silence, and you can slow them down in their expectations and how you're going to respond by delaying, right? Like, I think of back when I was in corporate, I'd pee and look at all my emails, right? And I'd have some email from some executive that was either sent at midnight the night before or at 5:30, 30 minutes before I was up. And I would feel that the rhythm had to be like, and the test was like, how quickly could I respond? Like, how much was I working? Was I, emailing while I was on the potty, or was I waiting till I was off? Like, and that's not healthy. And I think I even being on the other end, sometimes when I've gone quick and somebody's slowed me down on things that aren't urgent, it's made me change my cadence to a more healthy cadence in the future.
Yes.
Because emails are boomerangs and like we all complain about them. But if we're also the one that when we get the midnight email responding at 12:10, sometimes we have to purposely not do that. And I've had that happen more times than not. I've had that happen last night. I got an email at like 6 something and it wasn't urgent and I could have responded, but I'm like, I'm going to respond in the morning because that's better for them. And so
During my divorce, one of the things that I did that was really helpful was that I would write like text messages or emails to myself, and like, because I needed the outlet, and I would like send them to myself and I'd, like, review them later. But like I got them all.
like that.
Yeah.
I like that. Like I'll do that sometimes more of like, if I know I want to follow up somebody in 2 months, like people have fancy CRMs, I'll just send myself an email that I schedule for, June 30th that says, hey, follow up with Joe, But I love the idea of actually writing it to yourself.
It's one of my
come in, respond. I like that.
Yeah, that's one of my like life, like divorce life escort, like suggestion that also helps in other areas of life, right? Which is contain your crazy, right? And because sometimes like the ignoring is strategic, right? It can be hard to ignore something, and you should ignore it or not address it right away, right? So the flip side of this is like, I just want to respond, right? And then you shouldn't. How do you force yourself not to do that? And that's one way that I find is like really good. It's funny. I was also thinking about like my nephew Sonny, who's so funny. He's very verbal now, and this kid has perfect diction. Like he's things like, yes, I can, and he's cute. But lately he's Italian after all. He's been using a lot more like hand gestures and things like this. And I've realized that when he doesn't want to respond to you, he used to like get mad, or he'd like hit, or he like didn't like the question and he didn't respond. He'd get physical. Like he didn't know how, but now he has learned the art of the side eye and the eye roll. I mean, I have so many pictures of him just being like, and I just know what that means. This means like, I cannot deal with you right now. Like, this is too much.
I'll tell you about my day at preschool again.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Like I just need a moment. Like it was a lot. There was a lot going on in the block corner. I don't know what kind of things that happen at the school. He just needs a moment. And like, if anyone understands this, the Auntie Nicole understands like needing a moment to transition. And he's got all these people on him. It's just that like, talk about the art of like managing expectations right there.
Yeah.
That's
we all could take advice from that.
Right.
Right. From Sonny.
That's right. Even the toddler knows that not everything needs a rebuttal. Right. And like, so, one of the takeaways is, I don't necessarily agree with this totally, but it's like, it's a little bit, there's sort of a sexy version of this, but like, if it doesn't feed you or free you or feel fun, then it's probably not worth your immediate attention. Give it some time, give it some context, but no, like if it's not serving you, then it's okay to put it aside or reconsider it or let it go. You have to be able to assess the risk of that and to live with the consequences. And it's also okay if sometimes you get it wrong or sometimes you shift your expectations. Like the most important thing is that you're trying to be good to yourself. Like this is one of those things that helps you, like for all the people in the world that want to like take a step back or slow down or do something different. Like this is number one is like, is the stuff coming at you, the Pavlovian response, is it making your life better? Or are you sitting here acting like a communications manager? Like, is your life to read email? And like, and what does that do to like your time for yourself and others on this?
Yeah, that's a serious game. Like you could be out for a walk right now, or you could be responding. And I think it all comes down to those three things. Like, this isn't a rap, your life isn't a rap battle. You're not on trial, and you're not a vending machine.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly. Amen. Amen to that.
Amen, sister. I love it. I
Go
will,
for it. Be
I will
married.
never ignore you
Thank you.
unless you send me a 5-page manifesto. Then I will probably ignore you. But
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Thank you for never ignoring me.
all right, guys, thanks for listening. And
Love you all.
Hey guys, Erin here. Stop. Do not do it. Don't fast forward. I have something too important. I have a couple of very passive aggressive questions to ask you that you don't want to miss. Here they are. 1, do you find yourself often comparing yourself to others? Like, they work harder than me, they get noticed more than me, they have better luck than me, they're smarter than me. Or do you also just feel exhausted from having to always work as hard, if not harder, than everybody else to stand out and succeed? I know you have these challenges. We all do. And this is why I wrote the 50% rule. And I know you need to read another book like you need a hole in the head. But I'm telling you, this book and this rule, I'm obsessed with it. And it has changed my life. It has changed the lives of others around us. And it has also been the formula for success behind so many successful people. Savannah Bananas, Hamilton, Weird Al Yankovic. The 50% rule is the simplest shortcut to stop comparing, stop copying, stop chasing other people, and like literally compete in your league of your own. There isn't a day that doesn't go by where I stop myself and I'm like, oh, she did a talk that I wish I could do. She's got more. No, it doesn't matter. Because we don't compete in the same league. I compete in a league of my own because I am constantly 50% ruling things. So if you're interested in this concept, which, by the way, is more fun as a team sport, but at least start with yourself. You cannot miss this book. It's not only powerful, it's really freaking fun to read. That is always my number one goal. It was my number one goal with my first book. It's my number one goal with the 50% rule. I want to make it enjoyable to read it. Why? So that you read it. So if you feel like you are stuck with these comparison cramps or just all the symptoms that I talk about in the book of sleep running syndrome, self-doubt gout, and pioneer paralysis, and well, you have to read the book to find out more, then just go buy the darn book. Easiest way, go to Amazon, search the 50% rule, and I cannot wait to hear how you 50% rule things.